my good buddy. What's your name? I'm not sure, but he's got a nice sign, liberals, like it doji style, which I think is very creative. I was hoping we could talk about our values and the things we have in common, maybe try to find some middle ground, but I don't know if he's too interested in that. So I'm hoping maybe by the end of this session here, we could be buddies, we could be friends, and maybe we could just find one value in common. What do you think?
What you just saw was a little snippet of some video that I took at a recent protest in my town, my little sleepy, ultra red conservative district. And I will show you the rest of my conversation with this lone counter protester. But I want to talk about this event. I want to talk about what I think it means, the impact that I believe many of us are making in our communities, even with our small little groups and communities and movements, and how I know that right now, our Republican representatives that are just sucking up to Trump and are actively working to screw over their constituents, they're scared. They're running away and they're hiding and they're trying to avoid facing accountability and facing the truth and facing people who are very angry that they aren't being represented by the person that was elected to represent them. I was invited to attend these two protests that were being put on this past week. And they were both at our senator and our representative's office, Diana Harshbarger and Marsha Blackburn. Someone spoke to staff and made appointments for small groups, a few people at a time to kind of go in to speak on an issue, let our voices be heard, and let the staff take it down so that they could relay that to Diana. When it comes time for us to start kind of bringing groups inside, the group leader was told by a staff member at the door that no appointments were made. You don't have appointments. We're locking the doors. You can't come in. They gave us a clipboard with a bunch of sheets of paper that we could fill out our concerns and put our names and our information. And they would take those at the end of the day, but that we could not come inside the building because it was a safety concern because we were protesters. I think that they were afraid. They were very afraid. And they weren't afraid because we were a dangerous crowd or we were threatening physical violence. We weren't being loud or rowdy. In fact, the group was very positive and upbeat. But that alone was enough to have them running scared, locking their doors, and refusing to speak to any of us. And the local news came and they interviewed several people there.
Well over 24 protesters met here at Congresswoman Harshbarger's office. Many were upset that they didn't get an in-person meeting with a staffer, but instead were given this questionnaire.
There was no appointment made.
When protester Sharon Brown asked to speak to one of Congresswoman Harshbarger's staff, she was told she didn't have an appointment. Instead, Brown and more than 30 other protesters were given forms to express their concerns with the country.
I thought that some of us would be in talking at least to a staffer. There would be other people that would be on the street with their signs that explain exactly our concern.
The signs show support for fired federal workers and objections to cuts impacting veterans and Medicaid. Protester Catherine Bacon, a veteran, says federal cuts hurt everyone.
The people will contribute to the resources for the government, but the government needs to pay that back and invest it in its people so that we can continue to be a growing, healthy, dynamic people.
Some passing cars seem to support the protesters. One woman even unexpectedly brought them lunch.
I think what's going on is kind of crazy right now, and this is just something that I can do.
And even that, with our small group that was pretty calm and quiet and nice, that was enough to make them lock the doors and to block us out. And it's not because we were threatening physical safety. It's because they are afraid to face the people that they are screwing over. This is about maintaining their image, maintaining their reputation. They probably didn't want to end up on YouTube again. Sorry. And so I think they understand that they can't face this. They can't face our concerns. And that gives me, I don't know, that fuels me because it shows me that just with a little bit of organizing and action, we send them running into the dark. If we can stay persistent, if we can be out there every single week with our signs and our concerns, educating the community, having people in the community make their calls and book appointments and force them to either face their constituents and our real concerns and face what they're doing, or hide from everyone, including the people that voted for them, which is either way, it's not a good look for them at all. So the goal is to keep the heat, right? To keep the pressure going. And it obviously doesn't take much. I'm shocked by how little pressure we had to apply. I mean, think about these town halls. It's just a town hall. We're angry. We have the right to air our grievances, to petition the government for a redress of our grievances. And so we have that right. But then we use it and they all shut down the town halls. They say no more and they go running. They go running away. And they can only hide for so long because eventually people are going to start catching on to the fact that they're not even showing up. They're not serving their community like they're supposed to be doing. It's literally their job. I know that there are lots of people in this area that have a problem with what she's doing. They just feel like their voice doesn't matter. And so my goal is to show people that there are others like them that are out taking the action, and that we have the power, we have the voice and the ability to hold the heat under their feet. The first day, I brought out a pretty straightforward sign about Medicaid cuts. And then the second day, I decided to change it up a little bit. I'm really trying to think about how I can speak to my community. And I'm a little bit of a black sheep, an outcast in this area. I am an atheist. I am not a Christian. And there are churches all over the place. This is a very Christian area. And so I created a sign that kind of contrasted the teachings of Jesus or the values of Jesus with the policies of Diana Harshbarger. And I think that was a really powerful way to kind of speak to the hearts of people around here. And I got a lot more support, a lot more honks and waves. And the bonus, the benefit of that is if somebody flips me off while I'm holding a sign that preaches Jesus, well, they're flipping off Jesus. They're angry at Jesus, okay? And so they have to think about that. But while we were out there, I looked across the street and I noticed that there was this man that had showed up kind of toward the end of the event, about 20 minutes before everybody was winding down. And he was holding this green sign that it was like flapping in the wind. We were having a hard time reading it because it was so windy that day. I almost got blown over a couple times. And at one point, my sign actually smacked me in the face and like smacked me in the nose. It hurt pretty good. So he was over there and his sign was just like flapping in the wind. We were like trying to squint to read it. And, as you saw at the beginning of this video, I had some interaction with him, but that video started after I had already tried to talk to him. I thought, let me go talk to this guy. Let me see what he's doing out here. Let me go be friendly. So I walked across the street and I said, "Hi, sir. How you doing? My name's Christy. What you doing out here?" He's like, "I'm standing up for my president." Okay, all right. And I was like, "Well, what is it that you like about Trump? What are you standing for? Could you maybe tell me what you like about him?" And he's like, "What is there not to like?" I was like, "Well, I think there's a lot not to like, and I'd be happy to share that with you, but could you just tell me what you do like about him?" But he didn't want to talk to me. So, I just kind of had fun with it, and I'll show you the rest of that interaction now.
We're still out here. I think he's warming up to me. I think I got a little bit of a smile a few minutes ago. So far, my sign's getting a lot more support. But people around here seem to like Jesus, so that's not surprising. We should try to find one thing that we have in common. What do you think? Freedom. Do you like freedom? Do you believe in it? I think we both like the First Amendment. Yes, that's what it is. We both use our First Amendment right. And I think that that's what we have in common. Do you think Trump likes the First Amendment? Hi! Yeah! They like my Jesus sign. Or maybe they like yours. You look like a Greg. Are you a Greg? I think he looks like a Greg. I think we're gonna be good friends. Me and Greg here. Nice meeting you, Greg. Bye, Greg.
I I was there. This man had a very unkind sign. I was there standing up for a God that I don't even worship so that I could appeal to the people of my district because I care about them. And he was just there to make fun of liberals. He was just there to be a meanie. There is a pattern of demonizing the left, anybody not on the right, for not playing along, when I've seen way more often than not that it is the right that doesn't want to play along. They want to be the intolerant, divisive ones. They want to be the meanies. But we can't, we have to be perfect in the face of that. We are facing a hostile government takeover by fascist Nazis. Like it just is what it is. People don't like when I use this kind of language. I don't really care. But I also know that these people are victims of the system. They are victims of this administration. I do think with a lot of people that are very deep in like a cult type mentality that refuse to think critically and only do whatever their dear leader says, I think those people might be a little bit of a lost cause, though some people can change their minds. But trying to find middle ground with your fellow Americans, I think, is always a great way to go. What we're facing is incredibly dark. I live every day in a mixture of emotions. I might feel hopeful one minute, hopeless the next. I know, or at least I've realized for my own life, that life, this world, is my playground. And I might not always be having fun, but I'm always playing. It's like Monopoly. Like you might not always be having fun, but you're still playing a game, right? And so I try to balance that for myself. I try to approach this with all seriousness because this is a serious situation, the most serious thing that any of us have ever faced in this country. But at the same time, I'm trying to find as much joy. I'm trying to laugh as much as I can because if they ruin everything and they take it all, at least we could preserve those moments of joy. At least we could play as much as possible and just enjoy our lives as much as we can while we have it, while we have our freedoms. So finding that balance is really hard, but I think it was a fun approach. And, I'm always down to troll a troll, always. So, yeah, I mean, I think I was hoping for a little bit more productive dialogue with Greg, but when I realized that he just wanted to be a meanie and didn't want to have productive dialogue, that's when I decided to just have a little more fun with it. And I want to leave on this. We can't just show up and do our protest and go home and hope we did something. The protest is a symbol. It's a show of effort. It is a way to let others in the community know that there's some disruption going on. And there are people that are upset and there are issues that we need to address. But I really believe that if we want to make a positive impact, we have to do more than just show up one day on a street corner. Persistence is key. And I think the more we're out there, the more people will see, okay, something's really upsetting these people. Maybe I should look into it. Maybe I should stop and talk to them, figure out what's going on, to show our representative that we're not done, we're just getting started. This is just the beginning. And as we continue growing and we continue getting out there, we keep protesting, keep demonstrating, it's going to grow and spread. And the more presence we have, the more attention we get, the more impact we can make. So don't get discouraged if you put on a little demonstration or protest in your town and 10 people show up, not a lot goes on. That is when you find an opportunity to grow rather than get discouraged, because it can be very discouraging, but you will start seeing the rewards from your effort. You will start seeing growth and community building, because I promise you, there are a lot of people that are scared, they're apathetic, they're concerned, they're hopeless. They feel like nobody around them understands or cares. And if they see you out there, they're going to realize there's someone else like them. And they're going to want to join it. And they're going to tell a friend. And then someone else is going to see it. And before you know it, your community will be growing. And I really believe that's what's happening here in my area. We're not stopping. We're going to keep going. And every time we get together, we get fired up and we feed off of each other's energy. I have been busier than I've ever been in my life. It's a lot of the reason I haven't been able to upload videos, because I have been going nonstop. I go to every event I can. This past week, I woke up, went to an event, went to another event, met with people. I've been just going left and right, trying to attend every event possible. I come home feeling so hopeful, so on fire, and feeling like I can actually do something. So channeling that, if anything, will give you hope to persevere, and will keep you going so you don't spiral into despair. But right now, we need to seize this opportunity while they are kind of waking up to the fact that we're not as sleepy and complacent as they thought we were. I think that was their biggest mistake, is that this administration underestimated us, the American people. They thought that we were all just sleepy, tired, overworked, consumed in our online world and social media, and tricked by their disinformation and their algorithmic bubbles, that we wouldn't actually wake up and stand against this. They thought we would all just go along with it, but they underestimated us. And I've said for a long time that being underestimated is my superpower. It always has been. I have been underestimated my entire life, and every single time I have proved whoever is underestimating me wrong. And so I have experience in that, and I'm going to channel that and use that in this resistance, and show them why you don't underestimate the American people. You have to start realizing that we're not protected in this little bubble, and that we have to fight, we have to resist, we have to preserve our democracy and our freedom, that we don't have freedom and democracy if we don't actually fight for it and continue to protect it. We founded this country fighting against authoritarian rule, fighting against the rule of a king, fighting against taxation without representation. On July 4th, everybody's going to get together and they're going to blow up fireworks in the sky, and they're going to wear their flags, and they're going to shout about freedom without even realizing that the reason we celebrate the 4th of July is because we are celebrating our independence, our freedom, and our separation from authoritarian rule. We need to remember our roots, and we need to keep resisting, and we need to show them why you don't underestimate us. I have had a lot of people asking me if I'm going to run against Diana in the next election, and I never say never because I know things can change. But as of right now, I do not plan to run for Congress. Number one, I don't want to be a politician. It's not the life I want to live. Though I do think we need more everyday average Americans to run, people who are not interested in making money or having power, but people who actually represent their district. And that's number two, is I don't feel that I accurately represent really the personality of my district, but I will continue fighting for their rights. I will continue fighting for their health care and their social security and their federal funding and their schools, because I think it's important, and the world that I want to live in is better than this. We have to recognize that we have power, we have a voice, we are the people. I think a lot of us have just forgotten that. And a lot of us think that our government is like our authority, but it was not set up to be our authority. They're trying to make it our authority. But it was not set up to be our authority. It was set up to represent us and to work in the best interest of the people. Make your calls, send your emails, show up at demonstrations, find your groups, get plugged in, and you'll be amazed by how fast you can start taking action with the support of your community. And you can watch your community grow, and you can know that at the end of this, when we preserve our freedom, when we resist this administration and they crumble in front of us, we can know that we did that we were a part of that. And that's worth fighting for.